This is Report to Wyoming.
This show targets local issues that matter right here in Natrona County, where we talk to real people about their thoughts and ideas. Reporter Nick Perkins sits down with Lynn Hanzlick to talk about loss and repair. This episode features a community coming together to help each other when times are tough, and it begins with a love story.
So I was going to nursing school. I was a single mom, and my best friend said, I've got a brother-in-law that I think you need to meet. And so I still remember leaving class and hear her husband pulled up with this little white Ford Ranger, and sitting in the passenger seat was this other burly, hairy man. And I looked at her and I said, oh no, that one's trouble. No, not even. So she kind of introduced us, and I kept running from it. I was like, nope, I've seen the world. I'm not ready for this, and my mind is set. I'm getting through college, and I'm gonna try to take care of my one child the best I can. And so he pretty much chased me all 3 years of college from meeting. And he would always be at their house. And since she was my best friend, he knew I'd be there constantly. So
right.
Once I graduated from USD, I finally said, okay, I will go on one date. And that's all it took. So we dated for quite a short period of time, and then pretty much was engaged for about 3 months and said, yep, this is it. This is the one. So
wow.
We were married September 25th of 2004, and then had our honeymoon baby, Chloe, 9 months later.
Nice.
So, so then it was kind of, it was very whirlwind. We moved across the state of South Dakota from over by Beersford to Belfouche, and
sure.
Very early marriage that you have your stresses and your strains of moving closer to one family, further away from another family. And then he was a roofer, carpenter, construction, plumber. If it was a handyman, he did it. So
right.
His quote was, if you can't find me handsome, at least you'll find me handy.
Fair. That's a good one.
Yes. So that's what he kind of lived by. So then after we had Chloe, then we went on and had Kurt Jr., and lived in Belfouche for 17 years. I worked as my nursing duties. He did handyman and just lived. I mean,
sure.
Just that usual routine where you get so comfortable with somebody. They're your other half.
Right. Absolutely. So how did it go from don't want to give you the time of day to, oh, let's get married as soon as possible? Like, what was the switch?
I don't know. I think it was his pursuit. Just he
sure.
was not giving up. There was
right.
there was no quit in him. He just was like, you are my everything. And I guess I finally opened my eyes and went, okay, I guess he always called me his queen. So he treated me like a queen. And I finally caved and said, okay, here.
Awesome. And what day were you guys married? What was the date?
September 25th, 2004.
Okay, perfect. And so you're living in South Dakota for a while. I guess just kind of take me to, when did you guys decide to move to Wyoming, and tell me about the plans for the house?
Yes. So we kind of got stagnant with our jobs and thought, you know what, let's just look around and see what's available. And it's kind of weird because we both had kind of odd sense of humors. April Fool's is my favorite holiday, and
nice.
As a nurse, I'll tell you this story, but it's probably best you don't put this information for public knowledge.
Sure.
So there was an April Fool's, and me being a nurse, we use Gentian Violet. It treats yeast.
Okay.
It's purple, and it will turn babies' mouths purple for weeks. Kurt had been away for a little while, but he was coming home on April 1st, and so I decided to put some Gentian Violet in a place where I knew he'd come in contact with.
Right.
And so we made love, and 20 minutes later in the bathroom, he goes, "What the fuck did you do to me?" And so he continued to have a purple penis for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So
that is an elaborate.
That's kind of our relationship, and just constantly always goofing around, having fun. So here it came about, April Fool's of 2021, and I had been in contact with Mickey, our CEO here in Sundance, and I had just kind of said, you know what, I think we need a change. We need something. And I came home from work, and I sat down, and Kurt looked at me, and he goes, "I've got news." And I said, "Well, I've got news too." And so here I thought he was going to do some kind of fool on me. And I said, "I'm going first." And I said, "I pretty much have a job in Sundance. What do you think about moving?" And he said, "I had a cash offer on our house in Belfouche. What do you think about moving?"
Oh, wow.
So we hadn't really talked about it, but we kind of knew something was going to change.
Right.
And so, yes, we decided on April Fool's that we were going to uproot our family, move across state line, start a new job, and he wanted to build our house on the ranch that I grew up in. So my parents were good. They were fine with us moving onto the ranch. We had sat down and just made plans on graph paper. And so we laid it out and said, okay, this is what we're going to start with. And he knew building. It was his life.
Sure.
So he said, okay, we're going to go to Menards. We're going to do like a pole barn kit. He enlisted the help of some of our local Amish around to help him set poles and get the start of it going. And he pretty much built the whole structure. And it was tinned, it was enclosed, doors, windows, everything was done. Spray foam done, and then he started doing the framing. And so he got almost all of it framed. And me and the kids, we were constantly helping him out on weekends. But here I am, my day job, kids are going to school. So, we started building pretty much August of 21 because we were living in campers until then.
Right.
And then there was a weekend, I do remember, where we were putting up walls, and he just goes, "I'm just really tired." And super tired. And I was like, okay, yeah. He was a smoker, not super healthy with cholesterol.
Sure.
Us nurses, we like to fix things. So, yeah, I constantly barked on him about his eating habits, but guys are guys.
Right.
And so yeah, I just was like, you know what? It's getting November. You've worked hard. We'll just take breathers, just rest and relax this week. So we cut back on the house. We were like, it's closed in. Things are fine. We'll just deal with it. And then the morning of December 5th happened, and he passed away in front of me. So It was a hard day, and yeah, and I just, as a nurse, you think I'm going to fix it. I'm going to stop it. I can do something, and sometimes you just can't. You can't fix everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did he actually die from, if I can ask?
There was no autopsy, but we're pretty sure it was a massive heart attack, or what we call a AAA, abdominal aortic aneurysm, because he went so fast. Right. And all the signs kind of went to, I mean, he woke up that morning, he just said, I don't feel good, vomited, and within 15 minutes, he was face down on my camper floor. And he was like 250 pounds. He was a big guy.
Sure.
And I'm not that big. So
right.
I couldn't roll him over. I physically, he was just wedged, and I called 911, and even on the way out, I remember telling them his ear is mottled, and I kind of in my heart already knew he was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a super traumatic thing to live through. I'm sorry that you had to.
It is. It's quite traumatic. And then luckily our two younger kids were not home. They were at a dance that weekend.
Okay.
But my older, the college kid, he kind of had to live through it too, because I called him up and said, you need to get over here. And by then the ambulance had gotten there, and they had turned him over and started CPR, and there was nothing. But I told Nick, my oldest, I said, I need you over here because something's not going right. And yeah, he kind of walked in on the very end of seeing everything bad that can be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Oof, I can't imagine, but that's terrible. So what year was that? You said it was December of...
That was December of 21.
Okay, so about a year ago. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. And I can't imagine just like having to tell your children that and all of that. How did you all do? That's a stupid question, but how was everybody afterwards?
You're in shock. In your mind, you go, he's gone and he's not coming back. And then you start thinking about, what am I going to do? I'm not prepared for this. This was not supposed to happen to me. Your life partner leaves you, and you have all these hopes and dreams, and it's really hard. But me and Nick he was my rock, and I told him, I said, we need to get the other two kids home, and we need to tell them face to face. So I called them up, and it was still early in the morning. It was like 7 o'clock on a Sunday, and I called the kids, and I said, you guys need to come home. Something's happened. And they thought it was my parents because they're in their 80s, and we were expecting one of them to pass. So,
sure.
And I didn't elaborate. I kind of made them think something like that had happened. And we all went into the house that was concrete and framed, and we sat down, and I told them, and it's just a shock. CJ, the youngest, who's 15, he was 14 at the time, of course had his father's temper, and so punched things, hit things. You just and you constantly say why.
Right.
You don't, and I can't even imagine being a teenager and losing my parents. You don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it sucks. My mom died when I was 18, so not fun.
I'm sorry. It is. Yeah. It's something that you just know that doesn't happen. That's taboo, and So I just kind of went down the whole line of, and Kurt had 3 daughters before we got married. So I kind of waited because one is very big on social media. So
sure.
I kind of called his mom, and I told her what had happened. And then I said, I can't tell anybody anymore. I said, it's too hard. You can't, it can only come out of your mouth so many times before you just can't do it anymore. So, so she passed the word along to all of his siblings, and then I finally had Nick call Kurt's girls and tell them what had happened. But yeah, it's such a shocking experience, and you just don't believe it. And even though it happened right in front of me, I still don't believe it. Think they're going to walk into that door and give you a hug and a kiss and say, how was your day?
So after all of that, and I appreciate you sharing that with me, that's pretty personal stuff, so thank you. I hope it doesn't re-trigger some emotions for you, but
it's been a while since I've told his story, but
sure.
I've been doing better. I'm doing pretty good. I have a lot of good support around me.
Good. So you guys were in the midst of building the house. What were your immediate thoughts when he passed? Were you like, well, let's just let's sell what we can, or did you always know that eventually you would finish it?
We knew we were going to finish it. There's no other option. I'm like, this is the land that I grew up on. He would say, boy, isn't it pretty out here? And I was like, nope, this is where we're meant to be. Even though angsty teenagers were like, what now? You moved us to this place out in the middle of nowhere. We're 17 miles from town, and we don't even have a house. And so we knew we'd finish it, and it's still technically not done. It was in phases, but we're living in it at least. So I sent a video, Dr. Waddell, his wife. I sent her a video of what we had accomplished so far, which was not a lot. I had no plumbing. I had walls. And so he actually came out and he said, I know how to plumb stuff. And he's like, and I'll help teach you stuff too. So he pulled out, and we had all the supplies. I mean, Kurt had everything bought and paid for and was just ready to put it together.
Right.
And we even had sheetrock outside waiting to go up on the walls. So, yes, Dr. Waddell came out. He crawled up in my rafters, started putting pecs together and teaching us how to put pecs together. And we had all the plans laid out and exactly how things were supposed to go. And so he helped a lot. And then once we got our plumbing all put in, we started putting up sheetrock, and we would just start putting sheetrock up at night and screwing it in, and then start mudding and taping. And we had some other friends that would come out. An amazing woman that has helped me so much is Pam Jensen. She is a retired lady that lives up the road from me, and she would show up at my house and mud and tape while I was at work.
Wow.
So I would come home at night, and she would have walls just filled in, and then she would motivate me.
Right.
She's like, so if you don't mind, I'm okay. She's like, I need busy work. I've got nothing else to do. I'm retired. And so I said, well, okay, it's the middle of winter, and if you want to mud and tape, go for it. And then, so we just worked continuously on mudding, taping, getting stuff in. And then we would texture. So we did all the texturing ourselves. And then painting and installing our bathtubs, installing sinks, installing cabinets. So we got the kids' bedrooms done last summer. And so they moved into their bedrooms. The kitchen is still a little work in progress, but we can cook in it. We can clean. We've got all of our appliances in and working. The bad thing is phase 2 was supposed to be Kirk and my bedroom, which was an addition that was supposed to be started after the main part was done. So we have not started the addition. And then this winter with weather, you can't build an addition. So yeah. So I have a twin bed sleeping in my kitchen.
Right.
And then we have our dining room. We have our kitchen. Yeah, we have 2 bathrooms, plenty of room for teenagers, and that's what we live in. So it's
That's
our
awesome.
home.
Yeah. That's incredible. I've got a few follow-ups. Was this like a bonding opportunity for you and your kiddos to really kind of like, you know, when somebody dies, like you do immediately just want something to do to like be productive on, to like to produce something to take your mind off of things. So was this kind of like a chance for you and your kiddos to bond and to work your way through this?
It was a good distraction and something that we knew we needed to do. And like CJ, he goes, Mom, Dad showed me how to do all this stuff. He's like, I know how to do this. And then I'm like, well, he showed me how to do stuff too. So here screwing up sheetrock. You wouldn't expect a nurse and teenagers to know how to put up sheetrock and to have the equipment. And I have every tool under the sun imaginable because he was a tool man. So I've learned to use my circular saws, my drills. I can read a level.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a good bonding experience with me and the kids. A little butting heads at times because we all get tired and cranky, but yes, we always were together in the house working on something.
That's awesome. And so this woman that was helping you out, and kind of, you said she inspires you. Did she have any kind of words of wisdom about just like life stuff or anything other than the house, or what was that friendship like?
I mean, it was. The funny thing she said, she goes, you wouldn't think someone my age would befriend someone your age. Mm-hmm. And I mean, her husband's living, her daughters are even older than me, and she was just calm and helpful, and she wouldn't tell me what needed to be done. She would just ask and say, is it okay that I do this? Or can I just show up? And yeah, over even just a few weeks of working together, it's been a wonderful friendship that we've made.
That's awesome. And then will you, and you can email me all of this if it's easier, will you spell out your kiddos' names and then also the names of the doctor and the lady?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, you can just email me that if that's easier. Do you have photos of like you guys working on the house? Do you have photos of you and Kurt, just stuff like that?
I do. There's some interesting photos. So I can definitely upload them and email them over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. I think I'm going to get this written tomorrow. So anytime before then, if you have the time to do it.
Sure.
Let's see. So you're working on this house. When would you say like what was the day that it got to the point where you could like live in it? And was there a day that you guys like stood inside or outside and just kind of took a look at it and said, all right, we're there?
Yeah. There was actually a huge little dramatic event, the fish fire.
Oh, wow.
So we have to go back before the fish fire. My dad actually passed away the end of July. So here my dad passes away July 22nd. We get ready for his funeral. His funeral is July 31st. That is the day the fish fire started, which is only a couple miles from our ranch.
Okay.
So as we're driving him to the cemetery, we see the smoke, and we're going, oh, that's scary because the smoke was near my friend Pam's house. And
Sure.
I was like, I'm worried about them. Gosh, I hope nothing happens to their property. And we get done with the funeral. We take our day. It is the next day, Monday. I had taken off work. We were going to just sit around as a family, keep an eye on Mom, make sure she was okay. My sister was in town for the funeral. We just spent time together. All of a sudden, it's 3 p.m, and I have this sick feeling. And I'm like, that's a lot of smoke. We know the fish fire is out of control. How close is it coming? The wind is blowing toward us. So we ended up evacuating, pulling all our campers, putting everything we owned in our campers to pull away. And we had to leave this house behind that we had worked so hard on. And the last thing I said to the Forest Service guys was, please, out of anything, just save the building. Save that house.
Yeah.
And so we left it. Sorry.
No.
This is almost more emotional than Kurt. But, yeah. So we had friends that let us pull the campers and everything, and we had no idea from the time we left until 2 days later when we got to actually go back to the property if we even had our house left.
Right. Wow. Jeez.
So, and yes, I bawled my eyes out when I saw it. It was just amazing. So, anyway, once we finally got to move the campers back to the property, the day we moved them back, we moved into the house. I said, we're done. I'm not, which I think was like August 4th. And so we moved in and started putting beds up, and I said, I don't care. We're never leaving this place again. And the kids agreed. You see so many good people in the community. People come together and they know you and they ask you, how are things going? How's the house coming? And it's finally like, okay, we've been living in it now for a good 6 months. Life is going to calm down.
Just a couple more questions. This has been great. So if Kurt were here and if Kurt could see the house and see that you guys have done, what do you think he would say?
I think he would say he is so proud of all the accomplishments we have done, that we've done a good job, and that he wouldn't change anything in that house for the world.
If you had one thing to say to your kiddos and to the people that helped you and just everybody that kind of helped you not only build this house, but kind of build your way through this super traumatic event, if you could tell them one thing, what would that be?
I couldn't have done anything without any of them. And I love them all dearly. And you just can't say thank you enough. And when you go through a tragedy, unless someone else has been through something like that, you just don't realize. There are no words that can truly say how much appreciation, how much help everybody has given.
That's awesome. That is incredible.
It's an interesting life, I guess, we live, and we just wake up every morning and we just keep doing.
Yeah, that's all you can do, right?
Yes.
Awesome, Lynn. Well, thank you so much. I'll shoot you this email, and I will get this written.
Thank you, Nick.
Awesome. Have a great day, Lynn. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Listeners, if you're in your car and tuning into this on the radio and maybe you missed some of it or you want to listen to it again, you can find all of our podcast episodes at k2radio.com by clicking the Listen tab at the top of the page and then the On Demand button from the drop-down menu. As Nick and Lynn were talking, he made the connection to her story being a lot like the Kathy Bates 1993 comedy called A Home of Our Own, directed by Tony Bill. Some of you probably don't remember this film. It's the story of a mother and her children trying to build a home in the small fictional town of Hankston, Ohio in 1962, which I thought was kind of fun if anyone else maybe made that connection too as they were
This has
listening
been
to her
Report
story.
to Wyoming, presented in the public interest by Town Square Media.